Having surpassed 1,000 completed anime, it's time to review my old favorites and find out what holds up. I'm Sacrabolic, your envoy of hope, and this is Anime Favorite Search. Kizumonogatari Part 1 Iron-Blooded tells the first of the three parts of the Koyomi Vamp arc, and takes place 600 years after the Acerola Bon Appetit arc in Monster and Off-Season. It is centered around high schooler Koyomi Araragi as he is walking down the street and sees the panties of an attractive girl named Tsubasa Hanakawa, and they actually end up becoming friends. Araragi himself is a bit of a loner, of course, and so this is a pretty big deal for him. And then it's chilling out in the middle of the night, gets horny thinking about her panties, and is like, I'm going to go buy a porn mag. So he goes to buy a porn mag, finds a pool of blood on the ground, and follows that down to an abandoned subway where he encounters the iron-blooded, hot-blooded, cold-blooded vampire Kiss-shot Acerola Orion Heart Underblade, chopped up into pieces fresh after getting jumped by a bunch of vampire hunters. She demands his blood, and after seeing her grovel pathetically, he agrees to basically give his life to her so that she can survive, because Araragi is an absolute lunatic with negative self-worth. Surprisingly turns into a vampire from this, and she tells him that she can regain her full powers and he can return to being human just so long as he gets her limbs back from the vampires that took her down. And he's like, well, I don't know how that would work. And she's like, you fight them one at a time. You'll be fine. Doesn't work out that way. They jump him also. He ends up getting rescued by a specialist in monsters named Oshino Meme, who, for the small sum of 2 million yen, agrees to help mediate between Araragi, Kiss-shot, and the vampire hunters. There's not a lot to discuss in Kizu Part 1, because it really is just the first half of what is essentially one singular novel. And so a lot of what works in this movie, I find, is the interactions between the characters, which has always been a strong point of the Monogatari series. This is movie-grade animation on a Monogatari series produced by Shaft, so the visual elements look absolutely stellar. Notably, the movie ends on a long sequence of Araragi traveling through the abandoned school before he just catches on fire on the roof, then jumps back in time so we can see how his day went. And then, right about when he dies, we see a brief scene where he wakes up inside of the school, goes for a walk, mirroring the start of the film, then smash cuts to him being on fire. I thought that was a very clever visual element on that. Very well appreciated. Obviously, Monogatari is a fantastic series for visual metaphors, but we don't need to get into all of the little details. As always, I find myself sort of appreciating the franchise the more I watch it, because there's a lot of little details that you don't pick up on the first time. And coming off of Acerola Bon Appetit, watching the absolute change between Princess Acerola and the full-on vampire that is Kiss-shot is actually really interesting to see how Deathtopia Virtuoso Suicide Master influenced her habits some 600 years later. So it's very interesting to see the sort of changes in character, and it's also really interesting to see early game Hanakawa still acting like a cutesy girl. So it's essentially the start of their character development, even though we've already gotten character development for Acerola, is super interesting. And it is fun to see the sort of foundations of all of this. The movie knows how to have the characters enter with gravitas, but it is also worth noting in these cases that since this is just part 1 of 3, there's really only so much to talk to and dig into with this. Twitch and Discord in the description. I've been Sacrabolic, your envoy of hope. Bye-bye!